Yeah, absolutely, and he's done it all while keeping his defensive responsibilities, which makes it even more impressive.
Right now, it seems like the Flyers have been getting a lot more secondary scoring. And I know you wrote about this early in the year, and it seems like the last couple of years, it was that top line giving them everything. But are you seeing some more depth now? And if they can get that top line going, this could be a team that could be very interesting offensively the second half of the year.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost the reverse these days. The Flyers tried to go top-heavy with Voracek and Simmons on the wings for Giroux. And that unit hasn't been doing quite as well as Couturier's. Couturier first got hot when Voracek was on his line, and then once the Flyers moved him off, you figure, oh boy, maybe he's going to cool off here. Doesn't seem to matter on the wings of Sean Couturier these days. He's finding ways to put pucks in the net. The other two lines, not so much offense coming from those, but the fact that Couturier's line is going is what's really Flyers trending upward right now.
About halfway through the season, they got a couple of games left to hit the halfway point here. 18, 15, and 7. Do you see a team, Dave, that is, Hackstall was notorious for slow starts at North Dakota, and his teams would be much better later in the season. Do you see a team that is growing with their head coach?
Yeah, I really do. But the difference between slow starts for Dave Hackstall in college and now in the NHL is that this year – the Flyers don't know him, right? So they're trying to get his system down in the first, 2 months or what have you. So that was kind of working against him right off the start too. The Flyers all say that they have the system down now; it's down pat. And yes, I think they are trending in the right direction. That's always the question: is this a playoff team? Is it not a playoff team? The way they've been playing these days, and the bulk of their travel out west is done. If they can, stick around here and they've got a lot of division games left, a lot of conference games left, maybe this is a playoff team.
You wrote about this last week about them making an earlier playoff push than they had the last couple of years where it seemed like they were just buried. And then late in the year, they started to come on. And then last year, obviously, they fell short. That trade they made last week, will that enable them to now be able to add some pieces that maybe didn't look like could be on the horizon to help them down the stretch?
Right, yeah, that could help them in terms of getting a rental in here for the end of the season. But typically when teams acquire those rental players near the trade deadline, a lot of times, especially if they made a big investment to get them in the first place, they'll try and re-sign them. That would be surprising to me if the Flyers, traded for somebody and then re-sign them, unless it's a younger player that has potential to, stick around for quite a while and not at a high. The Flyers, now they get rid of Daniel Lecavalier's contract, they get rid of Luke Schen's contract. Schenn was coming off the books at the end of the year anyway as an unrestricted free agent. But the Flyers still, they have some cap space for next year, but they don't have a ton yet. So, and Ron Hextall doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to go out there and get the, biggest, shiniest toy out there on the on free agency. So, the Flyers can get a player like that for the stretch run, but they've got to play even better than they're playing now in order to do that. I believe they're 5 points out of a playoff spot right now, so they could get closer tonight. Being off the last 2 days didn't help them, and after tonight, being off another 2 days won't help them either.
Yeah, tonight, 8 o'clock right here on 97.3. On Saturday at 1 o'clock against the Rangers, you can hear that game on 97.3. Dave, you got an article about the goalie situation. It seems like we always talk about the goalies here, and it seems like yet again they went away from the original plan with the goalies. But is that a bad thing this time? No, it's not a bad time. The Flyers have been pretty lucky. It was interesting because tonight is the halfway mark of the season, and asking some of the players this morning who give a couple candidates for MVP of the first half. And a couple guys said, you know what, both goalies, because when one got cold, the other got hot. And that's something that the Flyers haven't had in quite a while. Usually if, especially with Ray Emery the last couple of years, he wasn't always able to get hot and help out the starter if things weren't going as great as the Flyers had hoped. Michael Neuvirth's been able to do that. I think he's only 3 points off in his save percentage of the lead in the NHL. And he hasn't played as many games as most of the starters, but him and Steve Mason have split the time fairly equally. I don't know, 60-40, something like that.
So he hasn't been playing like a traditional backup in terms of minutes, and certainly in the level of his play either.
Yeah, Dave Isaac's with us, and you write in the article that only 8 starts separate those two guys, so it seems like Dave Haxtell hasn't leaned one way. What is he going to do late in the year? Is it going to be similar?
Well, I think a good portion of that is up to the players. It looks like Dave Haxtell's the kind of guy who's going to play the hot hand. So, whoever happens to be on at that point, it's always sounded like a cliche when teams say, oh, we have 2 good goalies that we believe in. Well, these guys are both playing like it. So there's a big difference when you have, guys reciting that line and when you have the players actually, proving it on the ice.
Shane Gostisbehere not going to play tonight. He didn't play on Saturday. They didn't look like they need him. I was at the game Saturday, Dave. They just looked very inspired right from the get-go. I mean, it looked like they were on the power play first 5 minutes in the game. I mean, they're just coming at the Islanders pretty good. And I looked up at the scoreboard midway through the second, and New York only had 8 shots on goal. So really good effort. But, what is Shane's diagnosis? When can we expect to see him? And what is the team missing without him? Or are they okay letting him rest for a little bit here? Is this kind of part of the plan to let him get his sea legs under him?
Well, I think that they're just keeping Gostisbehere out tonight probably as a precaution more than anything. He's close. He practiced with the team today. He practiced with them the last couple of days, at least in part. I think he's close. To me, the Flyers playing the Bruins, Zach Rinaldo out there, I wouldn't put Shane Gostisbehere back in a situation like that. I would hold off on him for one more game, and it looks like it's pretty likely that he'll come back into the lineup on Saturday against the Rangers.
And obviously he's been a big boost to them, and they played pretty well without him. It's been a nice little run here, and they played much better at home here recently. They're looking for 4 straight tonight, too, if they can pull this game off against the Rangers. And, Dave, as you just mentioned, the West Coast is done. They got some games now where they're going to have to start chopping up some points and trying to get themselves into this race, starting with the Bruins and then the Rangers on Friday. Dave Isaac, everybody. He's, of course, at Dave G. Isaac on Twitter. Flyers and Bruins tonight on 97.3. Thanks, bud.
Thanks for having me.